Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. Under the theme Finding Best Solutions to Face the Present and Future, the Sultanate participates in the Seminar of National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations in Washington. With the Sultanate's participation, the Arab Environment Ministers discuss in Cairo ways to combat desertification and climate change. And the European Union members hold a two-day summit in Brussels to discuss various global issues. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. The Sultanate participated in the Seminar of National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations in Washington under the theme Finding Best Solutions to Face the Present and Future. The Sultanate during the seminar discussed the significance of economic diversification as well as benefiting from free trade agreements with the United States to enhance the global economy. A number of experts from around the world took part in the event and reviewed various aspects of development of the Gulf economy and its relation to the U.S. economy, in addition to the importance of cooperation with the United States on political and security aspects as well. The executive president of the National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations stressed that its mission is to strengthen those relations and develop the communication among USA, Arab and Islamic countries in various fields. The Sultanate participated in the 29th round of Arab Environment Ministers' Council meeting in Arab League premises in Cairo. It shed light on implementation of decisions of Arab summits in addition to review the Arab strategy to limit disasters. The Sultanate's delegation was presided over by His Excellency Mohammed bin Salem Al-Tobi, Minister of Environment and Climate Affairs. The meeting also focused on topics related to desertification, climate change and others. The ministers also discussed the environmental situation in Palestine, Syria, Sudan, Somalia and other Arab countries. The meeting further reviewed the aspects of sustainable development as well as the economic and social matters. Muscat Securities Market MSM General Index today lost 23.35 points, comprising a decline by 0.46% to close at 5,066 points compared to the last session, which stood at 5,090 points. The trading value today stood at 1.3 million Omani Riyals, comprising a decline by 56.7% compared to the last session, which stood at 3 million Riyals. The report released by MSM pointed out that the market value fell by 0.11% to reach about 17.8 billion Omani Riyals. EU President Donald Tusk said today the gap between Britain and the EU in the Brexit talks had narrowed and was not as great as many said. He said at the end of a two-day summit that the reports of a deadlock between the European Union and the United Kingdom have been exaggerated. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Angela Merkel dismissed British talk of two-year transition periods and moving on to stage 2 of Brexit negotiations as premature, when she claimed today that no sufficient progress has been noted. Meanwhile, on attending the EU summit, British Prime Minister Theresa May had this to say on the Brexit issue.
Are you going to tell your EU colleagues to get on with it?
This council is about taking stock. It's also about looking ahead to how we can tackle the challenges that we all share across Europe. That means, of course, continued cooperation which must be at the heart of the strong future partnership that we want to build together. Of course, we'll also be looking at the concrete progress that's been made in our exit negotiations and looking at setting out ambitious plans for the weeks ahead. I particularly, for example, want to see an urgency in reaching an agreement on citizens' rights. Well, I set out a few weeks ago in Florence a very bold and ambitious agenda and vision for our future partnership between the EU and the UK.
According to a major study, 1 out of every 6 premature deaths in the world in 2015, about 9 million, could be attributed to disease from toxic exposure. Asia, along with Africa, are the regions putting the most people at risk, while India tops the list of individual countries. A court ban on fireworks sales before the Diwali festival yesterday did not help prevent high pollution figures in New Delhi, as the residents fired rockets and lighted crackers throughout the night. Locals awoke this morning to acrid smoke-filled skies and levels of dangerous lung-clogging particulate matter known as PM 2.5, which went beyond 900 parts per million, 90 times the recommended limit by the World Health Organization. There is a similar picture in the Philippines' capital of Manila. Manila Bay is one of the worst areas for plastic pollution in the country. In Indonesia, meanwhile, air pollution from coal has had a devastating effect on the country's health. Pollution level in Jakarta was the highest in the world. In April, the World Bank declared that reducing pollution in all forms would now be a global priority. In December, the United Nations will host its first conference on the topic of pollution. Still to come in our news bulletin. Wilaya of Sur being one of the famous cities in building wooden ships over the history, the well-maintained and skillful craft has become an attraction for many tourists. News from the Sultanate of Oman Television. Oman oil price December delivery reached $55.16 per barrel. According to Dubai Mercantile Exchange, Oman oil price decreased by 37 cents compared to yesterday's price, which was $55.53. The average price of Oman oil November delivery reached $54.02 per barrel, thus $3.63 higher than the price of October delivery. Within the framework of the government's keenness towards Omani women in establishing their own projects, the Oman Development Bank, ODB, during the last 9 years financed more than 7,456 projects, with a cost exceeding 25 million Omani rials. The projects financed in industry field reached more than 4,000 and agriculture field projects reached around 2,000. Meanwhile, public services projects financed by ODB reached 625, and other fields included animal and fisheries wealth, education, as well as health. The Municipal Council, during its visit to Jabal As-Sura in the Wilaya of Ibri, the Governorate of Dhahra, got acquainted with the main needs of the citizens in the area. Among the topics discussed with the citizens during the visit included health services, the new school building in the area, in addition to the communications network and water supply means, in addition to other topics related to environment wealth. Coinciding with the Omani Women's Day, the Ministry of Social Development, in cooperation with the Omani Women's Associations in the Wilaya of Salalah, organized a family products exhibition with the aim to acquaint the society with various products and handicrafts made by the Omani women, as well as improve their means of income. The Omani Women's Associations played a great role to support and encourage the women through training opportunities, as well as providing appropriate places for them to showcase their products. The exhibition included different products, namely traditional clothes, incenses, jewelry, palm tree products, natural herbs, and others. Such exhibitions are considered a great motivation for the productive families to show their capabilities in crafts field and related industries. Shipbuilding is a well-maintained craft in the Wilaya of Sur, and it has become an attraction for many tourists. Our reporter Saleh bin Khalfan Al-Rahbi visited a shipyard and made the following report.
The Wilaya of Sur has played a prominent and distinguished role in Oman's maritime history due to its unique location on the coast of the Arabian Sea. While visiting the city of Sur, the shipyard is one of the attractions that draw the attention of tourists. The city is renowned for building wooden ships over the history.
We have inherited this craft from our grandfathers since almost 200 years ago. The shipbuilding industry is difficult. We spend the whole day working in the factory. We use the local wood and also import woods from India, Burma, China, Malaysia, and Africa.
The echoing sound of hammering on the wood and the aroma of the teak wood remind the visitors to this yard of the numerous wooden ships that have been built in the past. Some of the famous types of ships that have been built at this place are Al-Boom, Al-Sambuq, and Al-Ghanja. Those ships travel to as far as China in East Asia, Zanzibar in Africa, and many other countries. It is worth mentioning that clients from many prominent trade destinations approached Sur to order wooden ships to be manufactured for purposes like carrying cargo, fishing, and tourism. For the Sultanate of Oman Television English News, Saleh bin Khalfan Al-Rahbi, South Al-Sharqiyya, Governorate.
And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the governorates of South Sharqiyya, Worcester, Dhofar. Winds will be easterly to southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Under the theme Finding Best Solutions to Face the Present and Future, the Sultanate participates in the Seminar of National Council on U.S.-Arab Relations in Washington. With the Sultanate's participation, the Arab Environment Ministers discuss in Cairo ways to combat desertification and climate change. And the European Union members hold a two-day summit in Brussels to discuss various global issues. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, good night.